Hey everybody, this is Perch. I had a couple videos get swallowed, which means I posted them, I timed them, and they vanished. So got to try and recover those now. It sucks. But one of those was King in Black, number 5. Nothing like doing a review days after it's come out. But hey, maybe I'll just frame this in a different way. I care about spoilers. I wanted you to have a chance to read the book and knew that people wouldn't have self-control to just not click on the video until they'd read it. So that's what I'm doing it for you. King in Black has been a relatively short 5-part event. Started right at the end of the year, and it's been a remarkably, I'd say, classic style Marvel event. It came out more or less on time. There was some small delays, but nothing significant. It had one of Marvel's top artists on the book. I think Stegman did a good job, although there are times when the art seemed to get strange. I think it's the difference between whether Stegman was inking himself or Mayer was inking him. There's 2 different inkers at times during this book, and you can kind of tell when it changes. There's a distinct difference, but yeah, these are small things. The book was relatively solid. It also It did something that other events have fallen into the trap of, is it did not take itself seriously. It promised kind of an action-packed event of people fighting and guest stars from a lot of places, and it didn't try and go into a lot of kind of deeper level moments. It didn't do this Marvel gimmick where, at the end of a couple issues, we have to have, major cliffhangers that we're going to throw a bunch of tie-ins at. This event had plenty of tie-ins, and the tie-ins were often nonsensical. Several were clearly aimed at Empire last year, delayed and then kind of, hastily rewritten to be King in Black tie-ins, like a lot of stuff with the Union. I suspect some of the stuff with the Black Knight also fit into that category, but it's if you like big budget summer movies, this is the comic book equivalent of that. It's shallow on deep thought. It's high on action and big moments and splash pages that feature action. The end act is relatively straightforward. I mean, after building up Null as the most brutal, evil, destructive force in the entire universe, he pretty much gets owned by Eddie Brock during this comic. So we'll go through it. We'll talk a little bit more. But this event is going to likely age better. Although, unfortunately, I suspect be forgotten relatively quickly, but age better than many of the other events Marvel has done. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that it just tried to deliver what it promised, action. At any rate, our comic opens with the Silver Surfer is standing up, defying Null. He's rid himself of his blackness, which does not sound right, but he had kind of this infection. He has his board, his surfboard, is transmutified into a sword. So he has his power cosmic giant surfboard sword. He faces Null, but Null is very much not intimidated at all. But then all the Marvel heroes show up and they charge. They're leading their big counterattack. One thing that's funny is Jean Grey is like flying 1 inch over the ground, which is weird, but that's okay. We see the Avengers, and I don't know. Captain America shouts out "Avengers Assemble," but the X-Men are there, the Fantastic Four are there, everybody's there, and they're all about to charge Null. But just as they do, a giant ball of light hits the ground, and it is Venom. Eddie Brock Venom has returned. He's glowing. His eyes are glowing. His little spider symbol is glowing, and he basically has gotten the Captain Universe, God of Light powers inside of him. And with this is we haven't seen it as much. We saw it briefly during Hickman's Avengers run, but we haven't seen as much Captain Universe. But now we've got Captain Universe back. Null is still not intimidated, but he basically snatches Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, and the Silver Surfer's board. He takes them both and he combos them like any good manga would into a giant staff battle axe you know, big medieval glowing weapon. And this definitely intimidates Null, who basically books it. He does a bunk, as they say. But Venom, wielding this giant axe, slices up the dragons no time flat. Suddenly there's green blood and everything, and it's goo everywhere. These are goo monsters, so I don't know they'd have blood, but there's blood flying now just everywhere. The splatter pin is in full effect. Null tries to sneak up on Venom, but no luck with that. He does a Wanda Maximoff, says no more swords, no more dragons. He basically, with a single kind of touch, he gets rid of Null's sword. He gets rid of all Null's dragons. The Avengers on the street are left to kind of deal with some homeless bums who are in symbiote goo. But you know, they're having a hard time. But Venom, meanwhile, just spends several pages just kicking the shit out of everything. He beats up Null for a while. Null's giant goo celestial shows up. Venom chops its head off. He then returns to Null, and basically no problems here. He then grabs Null again by the neck and dangles him over the building like Null did to him. And then proceeds to just chop him up with his axe, just hack him in the chest with it, strips off his goo, so we're left with kind of a pasty-faced white dude, and the old man, and then drops him. And Null, kind of old creaky man Null, I mean, at least he let him keep his shorts. He falls to the ground. And he's all bloody, and he's like, you can't win because there's darkness in your sun. And, Venom, who's never lets a good pun go to waste, says, you want to talk about the sun? And he proceeds to then, discard the battle axe and fly Old Man Null into the sun. But before he does that, he light vomits on his head, melting the skin off. And then proceeds to plunge him into the sun and just vaporizes the crap out of him. And then Flynn flies on back to Earth. The Earth is, the black goo shield is melting off of Earth. We get a brief page showing that Blade was off fighting a bunch of vampires, and they were really happy, but when the black goo goes away, daylight appears, and, everybody... all the vampires go away. So that's a nice moment for Blade, I guess. These two pages just kind of came out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, okay. That's fine. That's cool. Thor and Silver Surfer retrieve their weapons. They feel a little bit like Thor's looking like he's feeling like a pussy here. He just like he showed up, but Eddie Brock took his hammer and just took off. The black goo floats off into space to pollute the environment, and everybody says thanks to Eddie. The heroes all say congratulations, good job. He goes to his son, but his son is has got black goo infection, so Eddie quickly rips it out of him, and that's cool. And then he's done, and all this work done, all this mayhem taken care of. The Captain Universe powers leave Eddie. And say, you don't need me anymore. You become something new. And the Venom symbiote comes back to Eddie, along with a bunch of other little symbiotes that are still kind of, hanging out. The little symbiote heads with their big eyes and grins. Eddie sprouts some wings and flies off into the sky and announces he is the new King in Black. And that's where our comic ends. So that's it. So what do you think about it? So didn't we get Venom 200 here in a little bit, which is rumored to be the final issue of the series, but we'll see. It is clearly Eddie has a new status quo, King in Black. We've also resurrected Flash Thompson. He's running around as well. And so clearly there's still going to be a Venom. I mean, hell, before this was even over, they announced Extreme Carnage in the summer. So Carnage and symbiote fights and all the rest are going on. But, this is the conclusion to really the storyline that's been going on about 34 issues ago in Venom, and then what Donny Cates set up in King in Black. No one's going to confuse this event for Watchmen. It wasn't that. At the end of the day, was a pretty, by the numbers action story with a lot of, sword fighting and goo and blood and all the rest. And it's a popcorn movie. It's a summer popcorn movie. And it's, on one hand, it won't be terribly memorable. It's not a deep thinking comic. It's not something that's going to be studied years from now. But on the other hand, it's fun. It's kind of dumb fun. And I mean that in a good way. You pick up the comic, you want to see heroes doing big over the top things, and they do. And in this case, it feels like Donny Cates is, knows that the Venom audience would like to see Venom doing badass things, and it's like, okay, let's get Venom and have him fly somebody into the sun and then hack him with a big giant axe made out of Thor's hammer, and that'll work, and it does. It works for what it is, and I think more comics would be in a much better place in many ways if the writers and the creative teams just at least occasionally give the customers what they're expecting, or not, maybe not expecting, but are asking for. Customers want to see an over the top kind of silly, goofy superhero adventure with goo. You deliver it. You don't try and subvert their expectations by going off in some other crazy direction. People have been waiting to see Eddie Brock be a badass, and they deliver. And so this event will be successful where that's concerned. I'm not saying every comic has to be like this, not at all, but events in particular would benefit from being more like this, because the sales of this are going to be so much higher than other things, than Empire, hell, than Ten of Swords. Subverting expectations sounds great. You want to kind of do something that the readers weren't expecting, but every now and then you do need to live up to the expectations as opposed to subvert them. It's not, that's a trick. People always say, oh, you want to give people what they expect. No, you want to live up to what they expect. You want to, and maybe deliver more. You don't want to subvert. Not every time. Occasionally it can be a good gimmick, but not every time. Anyways, this comic is fine. If you like kind of big over the top action, the comic's going to give you what you expect, and let's just say that's a good thing. What about you? Did you enjoy King in Black? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.